Hey everyone, Kara Warner here, and welcome to another edition of Power Purls Unplugged. And this is the third lesson for Stitchucation. So this is the special workshop that I am bringing to all of you for the entire month of January. So I hope you've been enjoying this, if you've been following along, because I have been enjoying myself thoroughly, and I hope that you have too. So anytime during this video, I would love for you guys to chime in and just let me know what you think, because the feedback is so incredibly important to me, because it really helps me to create the kinds of workshops and content that you really need, that's really going to help you on your yarn crafting journey. And I know that in this workshop, there are many different skill levels of knitters. We have really new knitters, and then we have others that are a little more seasoned. And so I just want to make sure that I can create that balance so that everybody is happy and that there's no confusion. And I know that there was a little bit of confusion on some of the lessons, and I know that can happen. You know, that's the way it is. And so whatever I can do to help you, I'm here to help. And, you know, I want you to just shout out, like I said, any kind of questions that you have in the comments, or you can reach out to me anytime. You know, I'm totally accessible, you know, through Facebook, through Patreon, through the podcast. So yeah. And so anyway, what are we talking about today? So this workshop is all about customization. So it's all about being like kind of plug and play. So taking the swatches that we were playing around with in the last few lessons, and we really spent time with those. And I did that intentionally because I really wanted you to get comfortable with stitch patterns and not worry so much about, oh my gosh, I have to worry about getting gauge for every single swatch. That was part of it, yes. Swatching and getting gauge, doing the technical stuff is part of the designing process, but the designing process is also about being a little bit uninhibited and allowing those needles to just do the talking. And I've said that before in this workshop. So that's really what I want to encourage you, because I think what happens is that you do discover those magical mistakes. And I love to talk about those all the time, because magical mistakes are where the amazing things happen. It's where all the magic happens, right? So anyway, so today we're going to take two shapes, okay? So we're going to learn how to actually take the swatches that we've been making, the stitch pattern that resonates the most with us in the yarn that we like the most, and we're going to map out our design. And you get to choose either an infinity scarf or a rectangular shawl. And I'm going to show you how to do that, because there are worksheets. So if you are a patron, you get this extra. Again, every week of the workshop, you get downloads. And so this PDF for lesson 3 is in the private Facebook group, and it's also on Patreon. And if you're not a member, you can certainly find out. So you can go to patreon.com/Power Purls podcast to learn more. But this video is free for everyone. And whether you're a member or not, you're still going to get value, because, you know, I really want to be able to offer this to as many people as I possibly can. And so that's a little bit of a teaser, you know, about what it is that we're going to talk about. So now I would like to just quick introduce myself. My name is Kara Warner, and I'm the host of Power Purls podcast. And by the way, you guys, there is a fresh new episode right now with Mariah Clark, and she created a bag. It's really cool. It's a very functional knitting bag called the Duo Bag. So you should check it out. That's episode 54 on powerpurlspodcast.com. So you can listen to that. Like I said, fresh today, brand new episode. And yeah, so I jump on here every Friday. And so for the month of January, it's been all about Stitchucation, but I talk about a mixed bag of things in general, and that's why I call this Power Purls Unplugged, because it's in between what I'm doing on the podcast. Sometimes, you know, there are some faux pas and some ums and ahs, and I try to embrace them all, and I try to get you guys to all embrace them all. And as a matter of fact, I am releasing a sort of like a just because little video snippet about taking chances and making mistakes. And so I'm going to be releasing that to my Patreon members at the $3 and up level. So you're going to see that in your posts section. So make sure you go ahead and listen, because it's short and sweet. It's only like 7 minutes. And so I'm going to try to do that maybe every week, but you know what? Just really kind of staying connected with you guys, because it's been really awesome. So enough about me. What about you? So I see that some of you have come into the room, and here's your chance to just do a little shout out for yourself and say where you're from, and you know what you think about the workshop, and you know maybe just a little extra bit about that would be awesome. So I'm gonna go through the comments here and say hello to everybody. So Jana has joined us. Good morning. Rita, hello. Shirley has joined the room. Maria, happy Friday to you too, Maria. Tammy, how are you? This is great. Okay, so I think you guys are probably ready for me to jump into like the little, you know, the nitty gritty, if you will, of what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to go through a little bit on this. I'm going to talk about this extra. So like I said, everything I'm doing in this video, you can get just straight out of this video. But if you have the worksheets, really helpful, because there are worksheets that you can copy. Like they're designed, I designed them so that you can put them on a copy machine, or, you know, whatever, print them from your computer every time you want to design something new, especially if you're trying to get your feet wet. This is great to just start with this basic template of making either an infinity scarf or a rectangular shawl. And it's like, that's the canvas. And so what happens inside and on that canvas, I guess, is really the best way to describe it, is what is going to make your design different every single time, hands down, every single time. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit. And so what are you going to need? What do you need today? Okay, so really it's a lot of the same stuff. The materials are pretty similar to what we have been needing in the past, but of course we are going to need our project yarn. So, you know, whatever yarn speaks to you. I always pick up I love this yarn. So whatever yarn speaks to you, you know, from all the swatches that you've been creating. There's also another ball of that same yarn right here in a different colorway. So if you're interested, though, it's Plymouth Naco Aria Arbruli. But anyway, so the yarn that speaks to you. Now, I'm not going to tell you how much you need, because I really can't tell you how much you're going to need for your design since you haven't designed it yet. But a good rule of thumb is, let's just say if you're designing with worsted weight yarn and you're going to make the scarf, so maybe you'd need anywhere between 150 to 300 yards. And I know that's a big range, but it's not really that big, because, you know, it's a scarf, but it's also in the guide, and I'll show you. We'll flip the camera, but it's a 10 by 60 scarf, and the reason why I made it that long is that you could turn it into an infinity scarf and seam it along one end, or you could just leave it open. You know, it's totally up to you. And so the best way to go is, you know, you just have to kind of guesstimate how much yarn you're going to need, because, for example, this is not a worsted weight, this is fingering weight yarn, so you may need only one ball of this, and let's say, for example, you used a size 9 needle, right? So it's really meshy, and there's lots of negative space. You may only need one ball, right? Because this has, I don't know, I'm going to say 400-ish yards, right? I don't know, but I'm guessing, only because I know the kind of, you know, yarns that are of this weight, how much yardage they usually have. And of course I can't find it, but let's just say that it's, well, it's 100 grams, 550 meters. So I'm kind of close in that 400 yard-ish range, right? So that's you know, that's it about yarn. I don't need to go into that too much because I want you to just sort of play, learn. Just make sure you've got enough on hand. You know, 3 to 4 balls should help you make the infinity scarf. Okay, so that's the yarn part of the conversation. And then, you know, you're going to need your swatches from last week and the week before, because we've been playing for a while. So the 2 stitch patterns. Now the swatches that I want you to have on hand are the ones that really speak to you, because those are the stitch patterns that we're going to use to plot our stitches today. So I grabbed my seed stitch in this bulky weight, this super bulky weight yarn. It's actually a koigu yarn. And then this, make sure it's not upside down, the Mira lace. And this is in Universal Deluxe Superwash, worsted superwash. I always get it wrong, but it's a superwash yarn, and basically it's a worsted weight, and pretty standard. And so you see I have these little labels on the yarn. This is what I told you to do in one of the last lessons. Really, you're seeing it backwards, but don't worry, you'll see it the right way in just a few moments. But I just basically put the information that really matters right here on each swatch. You know, so it's the yarn, the needles, the gauge, the stitches over 4 inches, the rows over 4 inches. Then I break it down to the stitches per inch and the rows per inch. And, you know, whatever information makes sense for, you know, and the stitch pattern, obviously, if I didn't say that. So I did that for both of these, and we're going to use seed stitch to plot the infinity scarf. And I'm going to show you, this is a very basic pattern, right? So it's just over 4 stitches. I'm sorry, even 4 stitches. Live. There you go, live video. It's an even number of stitches, which I think is great for anyone that's a beginner. But I know that if you understand this and you are more skilled, that you could take any pattern that you want, or a pattern that was presented in lesson 1, because that's where these stitch patterns are from. So if you guys want to go back to lesson 1, go to the handouts, the PDF, or you can watch the video, because I talked about those in the video. And then for the infinity scarf, like I said, it's going to be the seed stitch. And then when we go and talk about, I'm going to demo how to plot your stitches for the rectangular shawl, we're going to use the Mira lace swatch right here. Okay, we're going to use this only because I got a little different repeat. So I'm not going to say complicated, but it's just, you know, you just need to do a little bit more math. I hate to always say this is more challenging or complicated, because I don't want that to hinder you. I mean, no, I don't want that to be the problem here. Okay. So then you need, the swatches, your calculator, and your tape measure, like my little monkey. I know some of you like my little monkey. I'm sorry, but like I said, I don't know if he's still available. This little monkey, that's what this video is all about. Everyone loves the monkey. But anyway, it's from Lantern Moon. If you're interested, maybe Lantern Moon still has the sock monkey, maybe. But I got this at a yarn show at TNNA a couple years ago. So anyway, but I love him. He's great. That's my tape measure. Then you need your knitting journal and graph paper if you want, and a pencil with a really good eraser, because you may be erasing. But I'm using my binder. When I flip over, you'll see, because these materials are meant to go in a binder, and I already have these all together by lesson in my lovely binder. So I suggest for this workshop to be doing that. And, you know, you can get yourself a nice pretty binder and just, you know, put everything in there. So how do we start? So before I flip over the camera, I'm going to go through the steps. I'm going to talk about the steps for how to plug and play these swatches that I just mentioned. So there's 4 steps that I'm going to share with you, and this is in the handout as well. So as I said, we're gathering those swatches that really, really resonate, right? So those are the ones that we want to use to create our scarf or our shawl. And then step 2 is to refer to the basic templates, which are on page 2 and 3 of the handout. And also I'll show you that in the video. I'll actually handwrite the template, in the template, so you can see how it's done, because it's fill in the blanks, which is really nice. And that's why I think you'll really like to use this again and again. So I suggest that you make copies, just print one copy and label it master with a little sticky note or something. Or like I said earlier, just print it out whenever you need it from your computer. But it's good to have extra copies because, like if you're like me, you never know when the inspiration will strike, right? Okay, so that was step 2. So to refer to those basic templates. And then, so you've got your swatches on one side and your template on the other. And your swatch should have those labels, so it's easy, just you've done it ahead of time. You've saved yourself the work. Step 3 is to then refer to the swatches, the labels, like I said. So you grab the swatches. Now we're going to look at those, and we're going to basically take the numbers that we determined, that we calculated, and we're going to flow those into our little template. Okay, and then that's how we're going to figure out how many stitches to cast on, and how many rows, and how many repeats, and all that good stuff. Okay, so we started this last week, and maybe some of you thought this was really elementary to just kind of do some very simple shapes, but that was the lesson. It was like, if I'm telling you we're going to make a 10 by 10 square, well, how many stitches do you need to make that, as opposed to, well, cast on X amount of stitches that you think might equal 6 inches to get a nice big gauge swatch. That was a little bit more specific because I wanted you to use the math to make those different sizes, which I think was a really great segue for what we're going to be doing here. And then that's it. So those are the 3 actually in the handout. There's a little faux pas. I just realized it right now, and it's funny, no one mentioned it yet, but I think you probably got it. I'll fix it in the, I'll just put a new PDF up. It's plug and play, not in 4 steps, in 3 steps. So really, like I said, it's to gather the swatches, refer to the templates, and then plot. And that's it. And that's what we're going to do right now. Okay? So I'm going to just look before, because when I flip and I get started, I won't be able to engage. So I want to be able to make sure that I'm answering any questions. So at this point right now, does anyone have any questions at all? Because I am happy to answer them. Anything that came up over the course of the last week that I could help answer right now, that'll be great. Jump in. Alrighty. So let's see. I know it'll probably take you guys a little bit of time to actually type in those questions. So Joanne says, decisions. The president or Kara? I love that. Oh my goodness. The president or Kara? Why not watch both at the same time, says Joanne. That's funny. Yeah, well, here I am, you guys. No comment, because you know what? The show doesn't stop. Maybe that's why it's quiet right now. Oh gosh. Well, you know what? It's always going to be it's always going to be 12 on Fridays, and that's my plan. So now when I first jumped on here, I was like, it's kind of quiet. So kudos to all of you guys that jumped on here instead of watching the inauguration, because that's happening right now, isn't it? So, but for anyone that's watching the replay, it's good to see you. And you know what? That's what's so great about the video archives, isn't it? So, Tammy says, I choose Kara. Rita says, Kara is more fun. You guys are so great. I just love this. I can't tell you how much joy you guys bring to my life every Friday and every Wednesday if you guys watch me on Creative Knitting. But I'm sorry, this is a little bit of an aside, but over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to phase out of doing the Creative Knitting Wednesdays, just because I'm going to take a little bit of a break, but I'm not going to stop here. You guys get me every Friday, but I will be taking a little bit of a hiatus on Wednesdays so I can pour more energy into Power Purls. And there's a lot of the same crossover things, which is part of the reason why I thought, let's just bring it all into Power Purls. So that's my plan. Hope you guys are cool with that. So, but yeah, if no one has any questions, then we're going to do our demo. You guys ready? We ready for that? So I'm going to flip it around, you guys, and then we're going to start plotting our stitches. All right, here we go. I'll see you in a second. How's that? All right, so there is my workspace, and now I'm going to bring it way, way down so that you guys can get a really good view of that worksheet. See, and there's my pen waiting. My pen is waiting to plot the stitches. All right, so what are we going to be doing? So at this point, so I think I got my tabletop all set up. I will admit that last week I was a little bit disheveled. I don't know if that's the right word, but my power was still on the fritz. You know, there was all kinds of things, and I couldn't quite get this set up, but I think I got it right. So anyway, as you can see, I've got my binder, and I have every lesson in this binder, and it's been really great. And boy, it is filling up. It's really filling up. So we're going to start with this infinity scarf, and I have my little label. I'm going to move the other swatch out of the way, back here. I want to keep it nice and clean so we can see what's happening on this on this tabletop here. And I made a little scratch pad section for you guys, which is pretty cool. So you can always take special little notes if you need to. So how do we do this? So I'm going to start and just kind of go from the top here. So again, like I said, this is a plug and play template. So this really is a great foundation for this size scarf. And you know, we're going to, I think this is an important number here, the 10 inches, right? Because that's going to help us know how many stitches to cast on. But for the 60 inches, especially since we're working in seed, you can just keep going until you think, hey, you know what? This is long enough. Or you might say, you know what? 60 inches is just not long enough for me. I'm going to keep on going. And then when you're done, if you want, you know, you can sew the ends together or not. You know, that's what's so cool. You don't have to. So I'm going to write down here with my handy little Sharpie. So this is the seed stitch pattern that we're going to plot. Okay, can you guys see that okay? Because I know you're watching from your phone, and you know, it looks to me in my selfie cam that it might be a little hard to see the writing here, but I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. And of course, if you guys are patrons, you've got this so you can follow along. Okay, so I'm just going to look at my handy dandy little piece of paper here, because I've already measured everything. So we're not going to have to deal with that. And we're just going to plot our stitches and every bit of information that we need. So the needle size I used was a 13 US. Now I know some of you are on the metric system. Isn't that silly how in the US we're just not too keen on that? But as knitters, yeah, we have to be. And I definitely should be a little bit better about that. But off the top of my head, I don't have the millimeter size right now for the 13. But that doesn't matter for your purposes, unless of course you used a size 13 and you need to know what it is in millimeters. That's easy to find. By the way, you guys, CYCA, which is the Craft Yarn Council, craftyarncouncil.com. If you're not familiar, you should totally check it out, okay? You can find out everything from abbreviations, yarn weights, needle sizes, US needle sizes, millimeter. I mean, it's endless. How to size garments. So after this course is over, I highly recommend that you guys go there. If you really are wanting to explore the customization / designing journey, you know, you want to take that journey, then check out that site. Okay, so we got the needle. Now my gauge, now this next line is gauge over 4 inches, 10 centimeters, right? So my gauge, and I have it right here. So let's see what, it's 10 stitches, because you know what, it is really a very bulky weight yarn. And then my rows over 4 inches is 21 rows. What do you know? And then I'm going to determine my stitches and rows per inch on the next line. So it's over an inch. I've got 5 1/4 stitches and 2 1/2. Whoops, wait, that was wrong. Oopsie, I don't have my whiteout pen. So it's, let's see, it's 2 1/2. 2 1/2. 2 1/2 stitches over an inch. And let's see if I can, 5.25 rows. Okay, so it's, I'm going to write it over here. Sorry about that, you guys. I didn't get it on the other side. So for this, so the gauge stitches over an inch is 2 1/2 stitches by 5 1/4 rows. Okay? Does that make sense? It's over here now because I messed up. Oopsie. Thank you for the link, Rachel. I appreciate that. Okay, so then the next line is the stitches per inch. We take the stitches per inch right here. So we'll go, get rid of that, go away. So we know that the stitches per inch is 2 1/2. So I'm going to put that right in here, 2 1/2. And then we times that by the width, right, of 10. So we know that that's 25, right? So this is easy, okay? But here's where I'm going to go back up here because we have to talk about our stitch multiple right now. Even though seed stitch, super, super easy, but it is over an even number of stitches. So if we have, we 2.5 times 10, that's 25 inches. We can't use 25 because we need an even number of stitches. So we'll just say here it's even number, right? Because we know that about seed stitch because we learned that in lesson 1. So what do? It's pretty simple, you guys. You go up 1 stitch or down, okay? So in this case, I'm going to go up. So it's going to be 26, okay? So 26 stitches. And so here, plus the balance, so really it would be, you could even put 25 here, but really it's, so if it was 25, you'd want to make it 26 because you know you need an even number, right? So you could do that. Just so you could always remember like the real math, because I was wondering, why did I do that? Well, there you go, okay? Plus the balance stitches. We don't need to worry about balance stitches for this particular pattern. So then we just bring this number over and we just add it there. So we need to cast on 26 stitches for this to make this 10 inches wide, okay? Now for our rows, let's take a look at our rows. So we have 5 1/4, 5.25 rows times the length, which is 60, which is 315. Okay, so it's going to stay the same. 315, we don't need to round up or down. And that would be, we don't have to worry about reps or anything like that for this. So it's really out for seed stitch. But we can just keep going. We don't have to worry about a repeat. We'll talk about that in the next demo, okay? So I wanted to show you something just quick about this particular swatch as far as measuring is concerned, because maybe that was a question we didn't have time in the last lesson, like especially when you're measuring, that it can be tricky to see the stitches, right? With stockinette, it's so easy. Because I was thinking about Jody Matt, who I don't know if I saw you on here, Jody, but you were concerned about how to count your stitches because everything kind of blurred together. And so of course with stockinette, it's pretty easy because of course we have all our little V's, right? All those little V's, you can see them. And so that helps visually, although sometimes things blur for me too. They really do. But with this pattern, what I like about seed stitch and what I especially like about really bulky weight, you can really see what's happening, right? So just for example, over just maybe a few inches here, but like you can see with seed stitch, you're going to have like I'm starting with a purl. So you see a purl, then you see a knit, then you see a purl, then you see a knit, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So that is super easy to count, right? But other stitch patterns are not so easy to count, which we kind of touched on last week with the mirror lace. And now we're going to jump into that. So that's how we determine the infinity scarf, and you can apply that to, oh my gosh, so many other stitch patterns. It's crazy pants. I'm going to turn the page and I'm going to get to work on the next pattern. It's already 12:33 my time, Eastern Standard Time. So wow. So here's the mirror lace, remembering the little tag that we like to have handy, right? Keep that there. Okay. All right, so does anyone have any questions at all? I'm just trying to see. Oh yeah, so Judy, thank you. Judy Phillips says size 13 is a 9mm. It really, like I said, didn't really matter so much unless you guys wanted to know particularly. But again, it's very handy now that Rachel has placed the Craft Yarn Council link in the comments. So if you guys want to check that out as well and maybe have that on one of your tabs. And if you have any questions about how to use that site, I'm happy to help you guys understand that because it's a very, very useful site. All right, so I'm going to keep going. So here's the rectangular shawl. And so for this one, the size that I chose, these are just arbitrary sizes, you guys, by the way. But their sizes, I guess I shouldn't say they're totally arbitrary because they're based on sizes that, of other pieces that are of similar size that wrap well and drape well around the body. So your sizes should be based on what you can even measure your own clothes. Measure your own clothes is a very, very, very handy thing to do and something that I'll do often when I'm designing as well. So here we go. So 20 by 76 shawl. And so the pattern that I'm going to be working with here is the mirror lace. I'm going to add that in. So hopefully I don't make any mistakes this time. So mirror lace, and there is a stitch multiple for this particular pattern, and it is 8 stitches plus 2. And so basically, when I showed you this last week, and I can show you better in person here on the swatch. So this is an 8 stitch repeat from here to here, okay? And this was worked twice. So this repeat was worked twice. And it has these border stitches that are flanked by, they're on either side. And we're going to talk about stuff like this and edging and how to add filler stitches and how to just really, really think out of the box even more next week. But for now, just really we're thinking about this, how to work out this particular repeat or another repeat so that you can take those numbers and direct your math and have your math do whatever it is that you really want it to do. And that's the mastery of this kind of process, which I feel it's just so empowering. It really is. Okay. And then, so it's 8, so we know that it's 8 stitches here and then plus 2. And so what does that mean? Because some people get confused, like, why do you need to have 2 extra stitches? Well, because they balance out the pattern. And here are those 2 stitches. Okay. So they're usually right here on the ends. And then in the pattern, you keep working. I shouldn't say they're usually on the ends, but that, yeah, it's like they kind of finish and top off the pattern. So if you're working, let's say you're working this repeat 5 times, you're not going to work those plus 2 stitches every time. You're going to work the 8 stitches over, I don't know, 5 repeats. So that's 40. let's say it's 40 stitches, then you add the 2 stitches at the end of the row, and so that obviously that would be 42, right? In your repeat, in your across, your stitches. So that, hopefully that makes sense. So in this example, I used a size 9 US needle, and gauge is, let's see what my gauge is here. I think I put some information on the back here too, because my sticky note got small. Yep, okay. So over 4, so the next line is the gauge over 4 inches. And so I am going to follow my finger here. So it's 22 stitches over the 4 inches, and then the rows, see, because I put that in a different spot, which kind of confused me earlier. 26 rows. Okay, and then the gauge for the 1 inch over the 1 inch slash 2.54 centimeters is stitches is 5.33. Okay, and our rows over 1 inch is 6.4. Okay, so now we take the stitches per inch, right, inch centimeter, and we place that here, stitches per inch. And it's just, again, very elementary, because I like things to be very concrete and elementary when I'm working out new stitch patterns, designs, and so forth, because then, it just helps you stay really organized. So I take the 5.33 times the width, which is 20, right? And so I did a little cheat sheet here. So let's see. So the 5, because I didn't want to have to pull out my calculator here. So it's 104, well, let's see, hang on, 107. So 5.33, I think I did that right. Let me just grab my I have like a jumbo calculator. Isn't that hilarious? There we go. Because I got old eyes, what can I say? So it's, so 5, just to be sure, because I'm kind of like anal when it comes to the math. So 5.33 times 20 inches is, right, so it's 106.7. Can't really see my crazy calculator. There it is. So it's 106.6. But what do we do with that? We can't have a half stitch. We can't knit a half or a 0.6 stitch. So what we do is we round up. So what I did was it's 107, sorry. 106. This is where we use this second little blank. This is where it's going to make sense. 106.6. I'm going to round that up to 107. Okay. But we can't. Okay. So actually, we need to find a number that's divisible. We need a number that's divisible by 8. Well, actually, the number that's divisible by 8 is 104. So 104 is divisible by 8. Right? So we need to add our balance stitches plus 2. So it's 104 plus 2, which is what equals 106. Okay, and I'm going to put that right here. And that is what we would cast on for the mirror lace, okay, to make it 20 inches long. Isn't that cool? So now let's see about the reps, about the pattern repeat as far as the length is concerned, because then with seed stitch, no big deal. We keep going and knitting till the cows come home. But for this, it's a little bit different because we have a repeat. And it's a 16 row repeat. 16 row repeat, right? And so we really need to knit this repeat fully to have it make sense. So we need to come as close as we can to this 76 right here, okay? So let's look back here. So we've got our rows per inch is 6.4. So we have 6. So 6.4 rows equals that inch slash 2.54 centimeters times the length. And so what we did here, so it's 16, so it's, let me see what I did here. I'm going to take my calculator again. Thought I wrote that on my lovely swatch, but I guess I did not. So we take the 6.4 stitches and we times that by the length, which is 76, like I said, 76 inches, just so you can like kind of keep that in your head. So what is that? That's 486.4. So we can't really work 486.4 rows. Now can we? So what we need to do is now we need to figure out what out of the 16. So basically I'm just going to kind of take the 486 and I'm going to divide that by 486, divide that by the 16. So that's 30 repeats, okay, because you can't work 30.375. So we know that's a 16 row repeat. We need, so here's our 486 number. We timed, that's the rows, right? That's how many rows. That's how many rows we need. So 30 repeats. And number of rows, and that's 30 repeats. 30 repeats. Pretty cool stuff. So that's it. And you guys remember, you can take that little scratch pad, do whatever you want down there. I hope this was helpful. Does anyone have any questions right now? You guys are so quiet. I guess that means that you guys are working. Are you working hard? Are you working? Let me bring this. Are you guys busy knitting? Are you knitting while you're watching me? I hope so. So next week, it's going to be a pretty exciting thing. We're going to talk about this even more. We're going to dig into some other shapes and work with the trellis lace. So some of you may have been exploring the trellis lace pattern on your own, and we're going to work with geometry and also talk a little bit more about the next level, because I know I've talked about triangular shawls, because that would be something that would be a great segue, because next week is our last lesson, and I think we've been really building on things in a really structured and a very kind of, not a very overwhelming way, because I know that it can be, especially when you're first learning. So what did you guys think of that? Was that, give me in the comments, give me a 1 if you thought it was too easy, or give me a 2 if you think it was spot on. So go for it. Go for it. Come on. So Tammy, or like Tammy says, thank you. This was very helpful. I mean, that's always good too. You can just say, just say exactly how you feel and what you thought. But to make it easy and to quick jump in the comments there. So this was awesome, you guys. And so Tammy says too, spot on, spot on. That's awesome, you guys. So please share, and I didn't mention that earlier, share this so that share the replay. Rachel says spot on. Share this with your friends, share this with your knitting buddies, everybody, and just say they can watch the replay. If you want to learn more about how to be a member of Power Purls podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Power Purls podcast. And so with that, I'm going to sign off. Wish you a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Go to the Facebook group, the private Facebook group for anyone that is a member, because we can now talk about everything. Post your questions, post your photos, and that'll be it. So you guys, this was great. And I look forward to seeing you on Facebook, and I will see you in next week's video. Have a good one. Bye.